He's like, Phew!
The Holy Spirit took over.
And no one cares about sprints.
I care about the sprint. McLaren
Is the world championship
hotline. I have some thoughts about that.
He's Max freaking Verstappen. He should always be on your radar.
We get to the juicy bits.
Love the juicy bits.
I'm not a scientist.
Overtake King.
Yeah.
That restart, by the way, from Oscar Piastri.
Cheeky.
Diabolical. There's been lots of drivers. It's hard to keep them all straight. And we're live. I'm Anna.
And I'm Jessica.
And this is why we're yelling. Welcome back to another F1 team preview for the 2026 season. We, in this episode, are going to be talking about McLaren.
Yes. So McLaren, they entered 2026 as the reigning double champions after winning both titles in 2025, trying to carry that momentum into a brand new regulation era. Not to mention they were the constructor champion in 2024 as well.
Mm-hmm. So they're going for the three-peat for the constructors.
Yeah. Drivers and team principal. Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri are still the drivers. Andrea Stella is still team principal, and Zach Brown is still CEO, which we have to include him because he's a little hands-on. By a little, we mean a lot.
I think he is such a character. I love his cheesiness sometimes. I like his big personality. Can't forget him. And
World
he's
champion hotline?
Yeah.
Bruh, I'm still traumatized by that. I'm not going to lie. I think he should have got a little more hate for that, but whatever. Not that I think people should get hate, but if he was going to,
it would be for
that would have been that.
Listen, he is who he is, and he is who he is loudly. He is truly, you know what? He's truly American.
No,
In a sport full of Europeans, he's truly American.
No, that cannot be what we say. It's truly American, is being so lame after this contentious season. Oscar or Max or Lando, and then it's gonna be Lando. Oh my God, here comes Max. Who's it gonna be? Is this the world champion? Bruh, are you effing kidding? Whatever. Love Zach Brown.
Zach.
Anyway.
So the big question for McLaren heading into 2026 with the, new rules cycle, and is one of the sort of pace setters for the whole grid is, can they clean up the operational issues that they seemed to have last season and the strategy errors that were coming up? So talking about last season,
girl,
they did get the double championship. They secured both titles for the drivers and the constructors. But it was not without some drama, without some problems with the infamous papaya rules. It was just, it seemed, I guess it worked out for them, obviously because they won both titles. But it seemed that operating in that way caused needless drama.
Yeah, it shouldn't have been down to the wire.
Yeah.
Which it should never have been. Lando, you have to finish this, with the car they had. It should have never been.
It should have been runaway.
Yeah, they should have been, or they should have won the drivers' championship how Max won it in the year before in Vegas. It should have never
gone down to
the last race with the car that they had. There was just so many operational errors. I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah, there were weird pit stop strategy calls, and it was like a tit for tat sort of situation where they would favor one driver and they'd be like, oops, we didn't mean to. It was an accident. So now we're going to favor the other driver in a different scenario. And it was weird.
It was a hot mess, y'all.
Yeah, it was sort of messy. So hopefully we can, that's sort of the big question for them is, can we learn from that and clean that up a little bit so, we can avoid those issues this year?
What went right for McLaren last year? They secured a second consecutive team constructors championship. With 6 rounds to spare. So they dominated the Constructors Championship.
Yeah, zip that up real quick.
Yes. Lando Norris won the Drivers' Championship by 2 points and chose to run the number 1 for 2026.
Yeah, that's fun. They made a little, am I imagining that they altered his logo? Or did they? I feel like they did.
I don't know.
Or maybe some people were just doing it for funsies. But
I was looking at Max's number 3.
If you've ever looked at Lando Norris's personal driver logo, it has an L and an N that in the negative space makes the number 4.
Yeah.
And I don't remember if it was just fans playing around with the logo or if they actually did change it, but they changed it so it said number 1 instead of number 4, but was still keeping the L and N. Because I think instead of doing this, you just do that.
Yeah.
You just
you just move it.
Okay. But yeah, so I love that he's running the number 1. And I think, who was it that said, was it Max? That's, they would ask him would you ever, even given the option to run number one, would you ever not? And I think it was Max that said, like, no, if you have the option to run number one, you run number one, because it's never a guarantee you're ever going to be able to do it again.
Yeah.
So I'm like, yeah, if you have the option, do it.
Yeah. Now, and before the summer break last year, he had 11 wins in 14 races, and Piastri won 6 and led the standings early. So really, like, they were doing a really good job, like, as a team.
Mm-hmm.
So, Piastri would later take a nosedive and get the yips, and then that gave Lando the chance to catch up. But overall, just as a whole, McLaren was dominating.
Yeah.
And that leads us to what went wrong. Piastri had a nosedive in the midseason, 6 races off the podium, and slipped to P3 by the end of the year. Max Verstappen just dominated. I mean, he was hungry, and he figured out that shitbox car he was in, and he came hauling ass, honey.
Yes. It was
with a vengeance.
It was very exciting seeing Oscar lead the driver standings for a little chunk of last year. And he seemed to be, we were calling him like Mr. Consistency. He was just continuously, he had a very long streak of finishing every race. Like enter a race and finishing it. And then he also had a good streak of finishing in the points as well. Yeah. And then even a good streak of finishing on the podium. And then, like you said, he got the yips, and just all of a sudden his performance just tanked. And it was just, there were just problems. And again, this is in the midst of the issues within the team, favoring one driver over another. Things were happening, where there was strategy calls going weird, or something happening within the race itself, like that was out of his control. Like, it was just odd. He had a rough run of it there.
Yeah, but was really weird.
I think, keeping in perspective that we're going into Oscar's 4th year in Formula One. So last year being only his 3rd season as a Formula One driver, there's still a learning curve.
Yeah.
There's still, and I think last year was a good learning opportunity for him on what to do and what not to do in terms of being the driver leading the standings and like the mindset you have to have and stuff like that. So I'm glad he got to experience that. And hopefully that will help prepare him for this next season. Maybe, I don't know. Oscar's like, he's one of my like top 3 favorite drivers. I just really like him. So I'm like, come on, Oscar, let's go.
You got it. And so, like we said, even though they were champions, they still had a few errors that they need to work out. And that's going to be kind of probably what makes or breaks them this season in this, in the sense of if they are, which everything so far has led us to believe they're still one of the top 4 teams. If they are number one, are they going to shoot themselves in the foot and not be? But yeah, the defining story is they were that team in 2025, but they almost weren't, and it's their own fault. So what are they going to change procedurally to make sure that doesn't happen again? Yeah, that's not their storyline. So new regulations so far for McLaren. What has that looked like? The overall impression has been productive, steady running. McLaren kept their cards close to their driving suit, but looked like they belong inside the top 4 group, even if not clearly number 1. So day 1 reference point, second in the Bahrain test, Norris and Piastri split running and logged 124 laps, focusing on short, long runs and different power unit modes. The end of testing, they appeared to make a noticeable step in understanding the car by final day of the second test. So there's just so many different modes and how to get the power unit up and getting the battery charged. It's so much is different that the teams are really having to concentrate more on how do I even get this in the window to operate how I need it to? And that just seems to be where McLaren is. They're clearly in the top 4. They may not be number 1 right now. So we'll see.
So it's not like a driver issue. It's a team procedure and understanding the car, and even like you said, the operating procedure.
Well, and that's like honestly with everybody. Yeah. So like even the top 4 teams I think are experiencing all the exact same thing. So yeah,
who can adapt the quickest is going to be the name of the game this season.
Exactly.
Yeah. So what they said publicly. So the tone has been cautious. They're stressing learning and progress rather than lap time headlines. And, it's one of those where pretty much all the top teams are pointing at their biggest, rivals and opponents saying like, no, but look, they're the actual threat. Don't look over here. Don't look at me over here. It's not, don't look at us. No expectations over here. We're just doing our own thing.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's kind of a case of like, this is part of the game that you play as a top team. So performance chief Mark Temple said they're still learning with each lap, but see that as a sign they're making solid progress. And CEO Zach Brown expects McLaren to be in the big four, but not necessarily at the front of the group that early on.
Yeah.
Which, yeah, okay, sure. Sure, Zach.
Everybody's saying that. So what it could mean, the quiet confidence sort of reads that McLaren have a workable baseline and should be in one of the main front runners at the start of the year. An important caveat. Okay. So something important to remember from a testing perspective is it's understood that McLaren, they weren't running the definitive power unit specification yet. That's expected to change in Australia, which could shift the early picture. As champions entering a new rule reset, the big early marker isn't only pace. It's going to be whether they can avoid their execution errors that they had last year that, you know, cost them some of that momentum in 2025. So, you know, not only are they going to be battling like the expectation from last year, but can you learn these new regulations, learn the car, fix the kinks, and also fix your operational errors? We'll find out.
Yeah, so those are most of the big storylines for McLaren, including, you know, the teammate dynamic. So part of the operational issues and the snags they had last year was that, you know, Oscar Piastri and Lando Norris were both in contention for the Drivers' Championship for pretty much the whole season, right up until the end. And when you have, you know, two number one drivers, that can cause some friction in terms of like, you know, both of them wants to win every race, but also like the title as a whole, the championship as a whole. And neither of them is going to back down. No. You know, if they even get a whiff of you're preferring them over me, but not for like a legitimate reason, which they're going to challenge every single possible reason you could possibly
100%
throw at them.
Yes.
Like, no. I always want the preferential treatment because I am a number one driver. Both of them think that way. So it's, of course.
Yeah.
So that can cause some internal friction. And so like, that's kind of one of the big headlines is like, are they going to be able to still manage having basically two number one drivers this season?
Yeah.
And, you know, to Lando and Oscar's credit, they seem to work very well as teammates in terms of like, yeah, things can get a little spicy on track, but at the end of the day, they know how to set those moments aside and come back together for what's the, you know, for the betterment of the team. And they seem to be pretty like civil with each other and friendly.
Yeah.
So they work well together. But it's definitely like there was moments last season where it's like, we need to erect the Great Wall in the garage where it's like, you know, my side's doing my thing, your side's doing your thing. And we don't necessarily need to like help each other out all the time.
Oh yeah, especially towards the end of the season. They were very much like, we are in different countries now. Yeah,
we're running our own races. And, you know, there are certain moments in races and during the season when teammates would want to help each other out. And that was not the case last year.
No.
So it'd be interesting to see how that plays out this year and if they can still maintain that, you know, friendly, competitive rivalry while being on the same team.
Yeah. Basically, the testing vibes were nice and calm and competitive. Don't know that they're number one right now, but we're going to see. They're definitely in the top four and they have a nice baseline. But, you know, let's pose a question. What do you think is going to matter more to McLaren? Outright pace or proving that they have eliminated these little mistakes and operational errors, even if they're not in a title winning season? So is it going to be more important to be like pace, or is it going to be more important to really figure out what went wrong last year? Let's not do it again. Or, you know, which one? Like there really is no or. Those are the two options.
Yeah, it's interesting because you take a look at, and this is something that, you know, even came up last year. You take a look at like Red Bull, for example, even when they weren't winning with Max, as you know, they're winning all those championships in a row and winning constructors championships in a row. Even without that, you know, Red Bull had been ramping up to that point by perfecting their execution in every other aspect of the team. Like they consistently have like the fastest pit stops on the grid because that's what they practice toward, right? And so you don't see them necessarily having these like operational issues that McLaren is having. So it's a case of like, do you fix the operational issues and stuff in preparation for winning and achieving those huge moments? Or do you focus on, like you said, outright pace, we got to start winning first and then the details will come?
Yeah.
So that's an interesting juxtaposition.
Yeah.
Let us know.
So what do we think it'll be?
Yeah.
But okay, that wraps up this one. We are doing race previews for every team. You should see a little box pop up. We've already uploaded some, and we'll be doing it for all 11. So make sure you check them all out before the season starts, where we will once again be doing our race previews. So we will talk at you at the next one. Bye.